Today I'm going to show you how we travel light even with 5 kids. Yes, it is possible. Let's get started. We are a family of 7, so it's hard for people to imagine that we do anything minimally. And we always get the jokes whenever we talk about minimalism. Having 5 kids isn't very minimal. Joking aside, it is possible to travel with fewer things even if you have a bunch of kids. We found a lot of ways that work for us, so I want to share the tips that we've learned. We travel light, yet we come prepared for anything. Those things aren't mutually exclusive, and I'll show you what I mean. This is how we travel light with 5 kids, but it works for anybody with any number of kids, or even without kids. I'm going to show you exactly what we pack and take with us. If we haven't met yet, my name is Kalen Bruce. I'm the founder of Freedom Sprout, where we talk about raising intentional children and living intentional lives. If that interests you, please hit the subscribe button below. Now let's talk travel. I'll start with the mode of travel. So a vehicle versus a plane. With a large family, it's often easier for us to drive.
Honey, please, I'll do the driving, okay?
Plane tickets and rental cars are expensive, but it's even more so whenever you have 5 kids. We live in Europe, where the plane tickets are cheap to travel around Europe, but we still fork over about $2,000 on average whenever we travel around the continent. And flying back to the States can cost us upwards of 10 grand. So we try not to fly often, we drive as much as possible. Of course, driving also provides the option to bring more things with you, but obviously that's not always a good thing. We actually only bring 3 additional things when we travel by vehicle. Number 1, a van. We never leave home without it. Number 2, a pack and play. This is for our youngest to sleep in, but we usually don't need it, and I'll explain more about that in a minute. Number 3, fans and heaters. Air conditioning isn't a thing in a lot of Europe, and heating isn't always the best, so we make sure we come prepared. That's it. Those are the only things that we bring extra whenever we travel by vehicle. We figured out that if we can live without it when we're flying, we can live without it when we're driving. Now let's get into how we pack light. What you shouldn't pack. With 5 kids, we skip the hotels. We really don't fit in hotels anymore, and the maximum occupancy is usually 5 in a room. Fire codes. We found Airbnb to be more accommodating and less expensive than hotels and any traditional form of lodging. If you've never used Airbnb, I'll put a link below for you to get a discount on your first trip. And since we use Airbnb, we found that we're able to pack much lighter because of Airbnb. Airbnb lists everything the unit offers. All you have to do is make sure you have anything else covered. So these are the things that we've been able to cut out of our packing. Number 1, half of our clothes. We found that with most Airbnb units, you can find one with a washer and dryer, and you can cut your clothing in half that you pack because you can just wash it. It takes up a lot less room to bring a little bit of laundry detergent than it does to bring twice the amount of clothes. Number 2, shampoo and soap. Practically all units have this, there's no reason to bring it with you. Number 3, a pack and play. I know I said before that we sometimes bring a pack and play, but we found that most units offer some sort of crib or pack and play, or even just an extra bed, so we can leave that at home. Number 4, a coffee maker. I used to bring my AeroPress because it's the most compact coffee maker I own, but I've found that most units have a coffee maker and coffee if you check ahead of time. So communicate with the host and ask about the little things. Will there be coffee provided? Will there be a coffee maker? If so, what kind of coffee maker and coffee is provided? What kind of kitchen equipment is available? How are the pillows? You can get a lot of this information from the listing, and of course you can get a lot of it from the reviews that people post. The more you communicate with your host ahead of time about these little things, the more accommodating your entire trip is going to be. There's no reason to pack stuff that's already provided. Just in case packing leads to overpacking. So how do you teach your kids to pack light? Think about cutting travel items like cutting expenses. You start by cutting the things you obviously can live without and don't need, and then you go item by item to see how far you can take it. So we first start with our kids by having them lay out everything they plan on bringing and going item by item and talking about why they're bringing it. The more you do this, the less you'll have to do it in the future because your kids will get used to packing a certain amount of things. For example, our youngest daughter was always bringing a stuffed animal with her whenever we would go places until we pointed out that it often gets left on the ground, she forgets to sleep with it, and then we risk leaving it at the unit. She understood. 1 item down. If your child wants to bring certain things just to feel safe, or maybe a just in case item, don't rip it out of their backpack. Just let them bring it and then spend a few trips analyzing what they're bringing and talking to your kids about it. Show them they can eliminate things and make their backpack lighter. Point it out while you're actually there doing the traveling, because for us, a lot of times we have to take our backpacks with us until we're able to check in someplace, and having a lighter backpack is definitely an incentive for your kids to want to bring less. It takes time, but it's worth the time because over time it creates space and shortens your list. Now, creating a packing list. I use a simple Google task list that has everything we need to bring with us, and I separate it into sections based on the type of travel we're doing. For example, I have a list for military travel to remember to bring certain things with me, like orders and uniforms, and then we have another list if it's just the two of us traveling without the kids, but that doesn't happen very often. Using the same packing list every time eliminates the stress of forgetting something at home. Our list has 7 sections on it, and this is what we bring whether we're taking a 3-day trip or a 3-week trip. Number 1, backpacks. My wife and I each have compact Samsonite backpacks that have lasted for years.
Samsonite! I was way off.
We have Quechua day packs for each one of our kids. We paid less than $10 a piece for those backpacks. They're compact and they've lasted us for 30 plus trips now. Plus the compact minimal size forces lighter travel for all of us. And we take 1 additional American Tourister checked bag or just an extra backpack for a few things that we may need, mostly for the youngest. 2, the clothing we take. We each take 1 coat or jacket, 3 shirts, 2 pairs of pants, 1 pair of shoes that's multi-purpose for all the walking we do that also looks good, 3 pairs of socks, and 4 pairs of underwear. That's it for clothing. Number 3, electronics. I often bring my Bose SoundLink Resolve Plus for white noise and for music whenever we're in the unit. We bring cell chargers, earbuds. My wife and I each have a Fitbit Blaze. I bring my MacBook Pro and the charger and any plug adapters depending on which country we're going to. But if you're a Mac user, I would recommend the MacBook Air for travel because the Pro is extremely heavy. We bring a portable battery charger in case we're out and about and we need to charge something. And that's it for electronics. 4, family stuff. We bring some sort of baby carrier, either the Osprey hiking backpack that I can link below or a compact stroller. Books, my wife keeps hers on her Fire. I usually have audiobooks on my phone for travel, and then the kids each bring 1 book apiece. We bring a camera if we're going to a scenic location, but usually our phones work just fine. Medicine, we bring the amount we need if we're currently taking any medicine or any medicine we take regularly, and we put it in a Ziploc bag so it takes up less space. Occasionally we'll bring our money bag with all the different currencies we have if we have some currency for the country we're going to, and then passports and a selfie stick for family photos. 5, toiletries. Because the units already provide most of the toiletries you'll need and hygiene products, we don't have to bring that much. All we bring is toothbrushes, travel-sized toothpaste, travel-sized deodorant, and eye drops. 6, the sometime items. Of course, the pack and play that I've already talked about 100 times when it's needed. Sometimes an alternative to a pack and play or something, if the youngest doesn't have a place to sleep, we bring a kid's pop-up tent that he actually loves and probably prefers. I'll link that below so you can see what I'm talking about. We bring blankets if we know ahead of time that we're gonna need extra blankets. Towels if not provided, but virtually all Airbnbs provide towels now. And swimsuits if we're going someplace where we'll need swimsuits. The 7th section, the final section, is just for my official travel. So that just includes my official passport, my military orders, my military uniforms, and a notebook and a pen. So I recommend making a list like this with everything that you could possibly need so it's easy to scroll down and see, and then make sure you have everything laid out. This could be a business list to remember to take your briefcase or something like that, but mostly just remembering all the essentials. Reduce every time. Like I mentioned earlier, go over everything you're bringing, everything your kids are bringing, and see what you can take out every time. If you just get 1 or 2 items lighter every time, in a few trips, you'll be much lighter. You don't want to get there and not have everything you need. You can actually create insecurities in your children that will lead to them overpacking for the rest of their lives. This is actually what leads to hoarding, and I know it seems like it's a stretch, but it's true. That's why I never recommend ripping things out of their backpack. Just talk to them about the items, explain what you're trying to do, and explain why they would want to travel lighter. If you plan ahead and use a list, you can be prepared for anything and you can still pack light. It's just like minimizing your home. You take baby steps and get rid of 1 thing at a time, and over time you'll be surprised at how light it gets. A minimal, light trip helps you focus on the experience, because after all, that's what it's all about anyways. Safe travels. May your next trip be lighter than your last. Before you go, please subscribe to get more videos on the things I've learned about finances and minimalism and our journey around the world. Check out my new book, Intentional Children. I'll put a link to that below. That's all for today. I'll see you next week.